So as we gather here in the sacred ground of sovereignty, gathering to explore the Galactic to Gaia Odyssey, its impact, who we are, what it means. This is a space in which we are being held in safety to explore, to be curious, to question, to try on. And in that exploration, we are expanding our capacity to be our divine self. We recognize that we are not alone in walking this physical planet, that we have those in the unseen, those we trust and have worked with and who are known, who have walked with us from birth. And more we are becoming aware of their presence and their love and their wisdom and their deep, deep commitment to each of us in experiencing our highest good in this lifetime. So we give respect to that genetic heritage from which we came, to Mother Earth, Gaia, who holds us firmly, to this collective we call Sun, through which energy is recalibrated so the currency is made unique for here on the planet and for each of us personally. The system that has been created between Sun and Earth, or in which we are held in beauty and love and thriving in resources. We give thanks for those energies also. As we are cocooned in the vortex of the guardian circle, we call our guides to be with us. Come close into our space so that we can hear you. We know you always hear us. And we declare this space prepared for our time together. And so it is. Okay, so now that the circle's set, we'll each put ourselves into the circle, moving from our day-to-day, what we've been involved with life, into this circle for our time together today. So I'll put myself in first, then I'll call on someone, and then each person will tag the next, the next, and next until we're complete. So basically, who you are, where you are on the planet, and if you'd like to add a quality, a vibrational quality to the field, just speak that into the circle too. So Sharon Raj Maynard, I'm here on Woodby Island, and I want to add to the circle delight and respect. And I'm going to call on Emma.
Hello, everyone. I am Emma, and I am in Williamstown, Massachusetts, tucked in the northwest corner. And I will bring in the peace of a rainy day. And I will call on Angelique.
Thank you, Emma. Hello, everyone from the Netherlands, 12 hours apart from Arlie. Exactly. It's a beautiful day today. It was not very cold. It's getting springtime. We're growing into spring. And my word is sisterhood. And I go to spirit.
Hi, everybody. I am Spirit in Somerset, New Jersey. And today I bring curiosity and excitement. And I call in Arlie.
Hi, I'm Arlie. I'm in Eastbourne, New Zealand. It's definitely turning into autumn here. It is cold out today. And I want to bring in anticipation and curiosity. I always learn so much in this class and this course. I'm eager to get on and use the techniques that I'm taught. So excited anticipation. And I would like to call on Gail.
Hello, I am Gail Kaplan. I am in Magnolia, New Jersey, and I would like to contribute compassion. And I call in Sharon Harvey Alexander. You're muted, Sharon.
Hello, everybody. Great to see you. Great to be with you today from Colorado. Beautiful springtime day, and we still have many, many, many inches of heavy wet snow on the ground from a big storm that blew through on Monday. And I have just started a spring cleanse, sort of an Ayurvedic cleanse. And so I bring that freshness and cleansing and sap flowing, although for Arlie it may not be appropriate, but thank you. And oh, and I could call Christina.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm Christina. I am in Zurich, Switzerland. I have met you all on the replays. And some of you I met once in a call in January. And I'm very grateful to be here with you. And I'm very connected to New Zealand. It's like my second home. So I'm happy to have someone here from there. And I would like to bring into the circle equanimity. And I pass on to Aviva. Aviva, is that right?
Cool. Hi, I'm Aviva or Avi in Helena, Montana, where it's also a beautiful sunny spring day. And I'd like to bring into the circle the excitement of spring and everything, the birds coming back and everything coming back to life. And I'd like to call on Cinda.
I'm Cinda, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I am, I would like to bring in just ease, the ease of the day. And I will call on Deborah. Have you gone yet? Okay, Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah, and I'm in Sanford, North Carolina. And we've been expecting tornadoes and hail today, and so far we haven't had any of those storms. And it's warm and the daffodils are blooming and things are starting to bloom. So I bring in anticipation. Thank you. And I think that's all. I don't see anybody else on call.
That's great. Okay, so in addition to the amazing field we have just because we're here with each other in our own vibrational bodies, we have delight, respect, the peace of rainy day, sisterhood, curiosity, excitement, anticipation, compassion, fresh cleansing with the new flowing in whatever way is good for our seasons, equanimity, the excitement of life in its various forms, and that spring coming back, an ease in the day and in our life, I would think too, and anticipation. Okay, so yes, this is class number 5, although we skipped number 4 and did calls, which I want to tell you, I so loved having time with each of you. And I know throughout the year, I hope that not only conversations with me, but conversations with each other in whatever way works. If you haven't noticed, on the website, there is a contact list for everyone, so you can connect with each other. But thank you so much for taking the time and spending time with me and talking to me about you and me and beyond that. It was really wonderful. The other thing I want to, before we get into what we're going to do today, this is, I mean, we're a quarter into this. We're a quarter into our year. Oh my gosh. Is there any questions that have come up, any feedback, anything that you, of where we've been in the last few classes that you would like to bring up and maybe get answered before we move into the next bit of information, just unmute yourself and speak out.
Oh, this is just a technical question. After our private talk, I wanted to sign up for a session and I couldn't figure out where on the websites to sign up.
Okay. On the, if you sign up through the community resource page, and the community research page should be on every lesson page. Each class has a separate page. Maybe it was you, Deb, somebody said we need to be able to go to any of the pages, or maybe it was Christina, somebody to go to any of the pages. That's also been added. But there's a community page, and on that community page there is, and I'll double check to make sure it's linked correctly, there is a coupon, because if you're in this course, there's a discount for any sessions. So there's that. And also on the resource page, there is also, if you just want to feel like you want a 30-minute check-in, that should be on the resource page too. But I will double check and make sure they're linked correctly. Okay, Deborah? If you go through the any of the other sites, it'll just tell you the regular cost. So it's better to go through. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
About I think it was last class, when I'm just going to show you, when you spoke of this group here, that has no name and is not visible, that is watching or accompanying us. Are they, is this something above, or do they stem from the star families as well?
Mm-hmm. I think you're referring to the PTO group, because the PTO group includes they're just like orbs of light. They've never wanted to be given a name nor identified where they come from. And they came on board in the 8th world, but because they've been with us in the 8th world, but they're now working on all of the worlds. So those orbs, I'll just call them the orbs. The orbs come from a family similar to the divine family of the 7. So they're they're an 8th family, we'll say, and that had such awareness that they kept their boundaries absolutely pristine, so that they fine-tuned the sensitivity system in their boundaries, so that the outsiders were always identified and could never invade, never deceive, never were brought into that, we'll call it the 8th family. So when we started doing the work here on the planet, all those other families, the 7 families, were already contaminated. We'd lost our authority. And so they came and showed up one evening with me and said, we can help you because we know how to identify and remove that. I didn't call it an outsider energy at the time, but it was that attacking energy. And if you want us to come in, and so they are within that team that I call the PTO. So they exist as a divine family who have helped us because we invited them in when they made themselves known. At least I invited them in when they made themselves known. And the huge value they add is the sensitivity of their monitoring system. You think that's what you were referring to, Christina?
Yes. Yeah, that cleared it. Okay. Thank you.
Because the other outside families, the dominator families, are also outside of the 7, but they chose agendas of domination, and they've been problematic to us. The orbs chose extreme sensitive sensitive system, so that outsiders never had a chance. Emma, I saw your hand go up.
I'm wondering, so we have our 7 conglomeration that we're mostly associated with one another. And then we have other families that are not part of our 7. Are any of them embodied on Earth?
The only ones I'm aware of that are not of the 7 families are the orbs.
Okay, and have they embodied here as human? So we're the only embodied families that you're aware of.
That I'm aware of. In fact, in the glossary, which I've also posted, I added, when I say humanity, what that means. When I say humanity, that means that the souls from any of those 7 families who are in a physical body suit. And I'm not aware of it, as far as I know, and I'm getting no other families like the orbs, you know, the families of integrity, that because there's more out there. Definitely there's more out there. None of them have chosen to incarnate. There's no reason for them to be in a physical bodysuit. Outsiders, however, the dominator outsiders have indeed taken over bodysuits periodically, or influenced like a puppet periodically. So that particular group, because that's their nature, is just to take over, to dominate, to do whatever it takes to use. They definitely have slipped in and out of bodysuits. Any other question? Thank you. Spirit.
I just want to add on so I can understand what Emma just asked you when you said the outsiders go into bodysuits. So they don't own an individual bodysuit they call their own. They jump from host to host.
When we get further on, you'll understand that by the time we got down into that 7th world, we were at a soul level, we were all coded with an ownership chip. At a soul level, we were owned, and that's really hard for those who think that all there is love and fear to understand that we had a third aspect within our family. We were owned, we were enslaved. At a soul level, we were enslaved. That's really hard to hear, but that's what was the problem. We were enslaved. So when the bodysuits were chosen, there was a reason for 2 bodysuits. We'll go into this more detail, probably a class or 2 down the road. And that was so that one of those bodysuits could carry 2 ownership chips. So my software program for being owned was left on the field. It had to be picked up, but it was picked up and put within a bodysuit. So it appeared that one of the bodysuits was owned anyway, but that bodysuit carried 2 ownership chips, which left the other body free, not at all needing to carry an ownership chip. And so the body that carries 2 chips, totally owned by the parasitics, they had total freedom to do whatever they wanted to do with that bodysuit and whoever was in it to start with. We'll get into that later on. Arlie?
These different galactic families, green, yellow, so on and so forth, do they interact at all?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They work together to put together Earth's plan. They're a collective now.
Okay, and still they're working together. So the mission of the green family, Curiosity, spills over and touches onto the orange family, and it's more of a blend now, or each is still very individual, but going like this as opposed to like this?
They have their agenda as families. So the 7 families have their original agenda. Their original purpose exists.
Okay.
Because of the outsiders, it started to they couldn't even live their agendas. You know, as we got past the 3rd world, they couldn't even live their agendas because outsiders were there taken over their energy. The
Right.
agenda was never let go of. That's a set in stone thing, has never been changed. What has changed is that the 7 families found each other, like we're finding each other. They found each other, and they came together as a collective under a different umbrella of we have to work together to get rid of the outsiders. So the mission they have is a mission getting rid of the outsiders. That's what draws them together. Now, do they, the yellow, green, blue, etc., their life force is still the original agenda. Will they be able to sense and feel and vicariously experience the others? Yes, but that they haven't blended.
Okay, no intermarriage, still on the original.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly could be intermarriage, but still, then now you have somebody who is bringing joy and somebody who's bringing peace, and they can expand each other, kind of thing.
Right.
They don't lose their original race, if you will, original.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Sharon, Harvey.
So is it like we had an agreement among these families before we came into the bodysuit to perhaps find each other and start to work together?
That's another level. That's another level, because we had our original, which is the 7 collectives. We began to find each other, and because we had a common problem, the outsiders, but we're still, collective. The mission brought us into Earth, but every time we make a plan for incarnation, we individually, part of that plan is contracts with others for specific purposes. And that doesn't need to follow at all the original line. I might, like, Arlie, do you know what your divine family is? What's the sense there? Oops,
I'm in the divine family that wants to bring hidden secrets to the light, kind of one of the orange families on the yellow
like intuition
side or something.
Yeah, and see, mine curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
But why are you guys here with me? Because you're not all curiosity families. But we have something that's important. We've been drawn together, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So does that answer your question, Sharon? We do make contracts at different levels, but when we're talking about Earth, then that's a different level of contracts too.
But so those contracts were made, this is new wording, and I don't know if it's a new paradigm for me. What I've come to understand or believe or whatever is that before we come into this body, this lifetime, we have made these agreements with people, up there, out there, whatever, with other souls to have certain experiences. Like, I have a troubled brother. So what is that in my life for me to learn from and work through, and what agreement did we have beforehand? And then our parent, choosing our parents and all of that. And so my questions, and I think you and I talked about this in the one-on-one, but we don't, so our family is not all from the same star family, but we have agreements across these 7 levels to get together in this lifetime, I guess, to become a better person, a better soul. Like, how does that fit in with what you're talking about?
Perfectly. When the agreements we made when we first came into this incarnation 600,000 years ago. I mean, this started 600,000 years ago. And so the contracts we made at that point were very mission driven. But then we got into the crippling, the contamination, and everything went to H in a handbasket. Okay, so we've added to the contamination. We hardened the forms of contamination. We have a lot of mess that we are now in much more contaminated fields than when we began. So when we when we make a plan, and we make a plan before we incarnate, just like you said, absolutely. So we make a plan before we incarnate, and some plans are more like set in stone than others, really. That's what I've found with my clients. Some are much more flexible, some are much more heavy than others. And within that plan, absolutely, there are contracts. And there are contracts with those we meet on this planet, in our life. And the energy of the contracts will draw us together. That'll be part of the energy draw. And we already have contracts with those in the unseen that follow us, even though we usually are not taught about them. We're made to believe that those, unseen playmates in our room, that's just makeup. No, there's reality about that. There are those who we are contracted, whose contracts are never broken either. So what you're saying is absolutely true. Yes, that's what I've been.
Sorry. For the most part, they're benign then, or
no?
Yeah.
Some of them are a lot more like what we would say if we're going to say karmic, which I don't want. It's like sometimes it's a relationship that you want to come in and to resolve it and do it differently, which sometimes we don't. We get mixed up, so it doesn't feel benevolent.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's I don't think any of those contracts I would call them harmful. The patterns may have been harmful, but we don't come in to redo the patterns. We come in to end the patterns for ourselves and generations after us.
Yeah.
And and that's one of the values of being able to increase your ability to ask questions of those unseen that are your information flow, because you can begin to ask those questions specifically about this situation or that situation, your own answers for that.
Great.
But yes, we have contracts for sure. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, Christina.
Yes. Where do I don't like the word aliens, or extraterrestrial maybe. Where does that fit in, or or if I'm off course, just tell me. It's okay.
I don't use those words either, because they're not any probably words that I've never designated in the way I would want to designate them. But we definitely in those regions between home and here, we've had various kinds of experiences, and some have had experiences, for example, where in families that are very more feline or lions, and all of that I don't get into. As long as they're benevolent, I want to follow that stream of benevolence. You see what I'm saying? So if there is an experience that someone has with a being that looks like an alien or an ET or whatever, I would basically where I would default to is to say to that being, which is an energy form, are you of my light? And if it's not of my light, then it can be moved away. But it's like my teachers have said, we tell stories through your clients to help them unweave that which has trapped them and reframe a story. Is the story true? It doesn't matter if the story is true. So my client might say, oh my gosh, here I am, I'm in Egypt. Oh my gosh, I'm Cleopatra. But within the story is the essence of what needs to be reframed. So you let the story take you to an energy that is calling to be reframed or healed, and just let go of the story. You see, our purpose is to heal and transform what has trapped us in the past, and whatever it is that is necessary to help us reweave and reframe is in our imagination anyway. Okay, Spirit.
Okay, so many things I've heard about when one's lifetime ends. I hear you say that we made some of these contracts 600,000 years ago, but some of what I heard, not that it's true, but for you to clarify, a lifetime ends when we learn the lesson. Is that true, or when does a lifetime end?
That's interesting. It's part of the lessons today, part of the class today,
Okay.
because it takes us back to what's the Earth mission. And for a lot of people, they say the Earth, the reason you're on the planet is to learn to be good, to learn to be obedient, to learn to, is to learn about X. And when you learn X and you master X, you don't come back again.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. The whole thing is not true.
Okay.
But I think we'll cover it later. So make a note. I think I've got in my notes to talk about it. But so that's what that's. Anything else before we get started? Okay. So we're going to go back. One of the things that I found really helpful for me in the last week or so is to get it at a different level, that I'm in somebody's life because I'm being called into their life, or someone is in my life because I'm being called into their life. It's like, what is that? That's that contractual thing. And I've known it, but all of a sudden I got it in a different way that has changed it to being really quite delightful. So, why am I in your life? And so that was a question I kind of thought, I'm going to just sit with that for a minute. Why am I in your life? As we've just talked about, there are spiritual connections way beyond what we know or have been told. And there are aspects of you way beyond what you know or have been told. And one of the reasons, really, the last few days, it's like I hear these love songs and I want to send them to you. It's like, this is how I feel about you. Our community is a community of love, and it's like so important. So I'm going to read you a poem. I wrote this poem in 1989. So, the swell of a heart opening so large it feels that my body will burst. The glow that flows throughout my being. Love in such a pure form. In that state, I reach out and touch the physical that is now you. So overwhelming is the love that bodies seem to be in the way of fully experiencing our connection. And as I think the thought, bodies are no more. Beyond comprehension, and certainly beyond words, to suddenly realize that energy has merged with energy in love, and we are one. And yet a one that contains the uniqueness that is each. I long to know that space and spend time there often. And so it is. And I went, that's who we are being down here. And what's that a reflection of is our divine family of origin. So in our time last week, last class, we connected to that family. And I'm going to let us go back there to begin this particular class. So if you just imagine yourself in that place first of home where everything is there. The colors, the rhythm, the songs, the movement, wholeness, balance, love, generosity, delight. It's all moving. In your imagination, just keep breathing, letting the body move away. And as you move your imagination, that energy, and letting home also pull you in. All is there. And then that spark of idea, the spark that drew you as a soul, as a consciousness, it drew you, and you began to dance just a little bit differently. And the rhythm became a little bit stronger. And a collective came together. And at some moment, like the starlings, the murmuration, your group extended, just extended from the greater ocean and flow of starlings, and extended. We're going to freeze frame the extension. And you're going to, because you're bringing information from the future, you're going to say, family, I'm here because I have an important bit of information to add. And everybody's rhythm kind of hovers, ready to hear, respectful. And you call in the orbs and their colors and their flickers and they're brilliant. And the orbs say to the entire great collective family, there are those that would love to feed off of you. And we can give you our system of sensitivity, of boundaries to secure your journey in your agenda. Would you like us to do that? And that idea just ripples through the entire collective, and all of a sudden there's a great excitement and appreciation. It's like, whoa, of course. Collective consensus, yes. And the orbs help weave new boundaries. And the collective watches and they begin to participate in the weaving. They've got it. They are brilliant. Your collective is brilliant. And they participate in the weaving. And when the weaving's in place, there's a container that is permeable, but no outsider energy can come in. So there's flexibility, there's safety. And you can relax even more deeply in the qualities of your family. So with that imagination, let yourself sense the qualities. What was the original agenda? Joy, curiosity, deep hearing and knowing, clarity. Just give yourself time and give your family permission to speak to you through feelings, colors, emotions. This is energy currency. It lights you up. It's eliminating any possibility of invasion. Soak it in. And with your divine family holding the space, you now extend. You're in the first world, second world, extending, trailing clouds of divine agenda with you, like on your feet, like wings that you fly on. You are moving down, fourth world, third world, gathering what you know, and then down you come through that spiral, fifth, sixth, seventh. Every place you move, those boundaries and the brilliance of your divine agenda lighten. Breathe that energy right into your physical body suit. Bring it right down through the crown chakra. If the light is too brilliant right now for the body, just let it be softened, not shut off, not dimmed, just softened. Bring it right down to the feet. That currency of home. As you there are the feet on Mother Earth, on Gaia, activate that boundary shield. Reaffirm the qualities of divine home. And when that is done, move the energy right down into Gaia, into the roots of sisterhood. And flow those light of boundary security through those roots of sisterhood and activating it from the core of Gaia out, surrounding Gaia and all families on the planet. Those new codes, secured boundaries. As you hold that space, get a sense of what it feels like in the bodysuit. What does the bodysuit's resonance add? We anchor those codes within Gaia, within humanity, within you, within families, through the entire 64 dimensions of our life flow. And when you are ready, you can bring yourself back. Staying in the energy, feeling of it. I'm just going to walk us through a reality statement and shift. I am in my divine star families collective with codes from the orbs of the PTO team and the new weaving of boundaries from the first world, anchored in myself and community in the eighth world, including Gaia. And I ask those in our spiritual groups to move our consciousness and the consciousness of everyone we each are connected to in love, move our consciousness into that reality. Calling the tag collective healing team and the PTO, deep six, anything that is, has, or would keep us from that new coded boundary reality. I call for our divine design team to create the program for the highest expression of that reality for ourselves and those we love. Bringing those codes down to our first dimensional field and anchoring the program into the fifth dimension life landscape of plan. This reality for the entire 64 dimensions is chosen, designed, cleared, anchored, activated. And so it is. So now what I'm going to have you do is something I always do when I have a physical workshop. Everybody up. If you want to turn off your cameras, you can. I'm going to take you through the physical brain balance from the program, the Educational Kinesiology, or Psych K also has similar ones. So it's a physical movement and we're just going to do it together. I'll leave my camera on so you can watch. If you feel like you'd like yours off, totally go for it. So let me see if I can make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So here you are standing up. We've already affirmed this new boundary setting for ourselves and for our families. We're going to wake up the right hemisphere of our brain, cross crawl. Left hemisphere of our brain, puppet. Okay, now, the next thing you're going to do, I'm kind of far away from the mic. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to speak to the right hemisphere, and that means we've already said the reality. We have that new program in our boundary. We're going to cross crawl, hold your head straight, and use your eyes like the paintbrush, back and forth, back and forth. It's like painting that wall in front of you with the new reality, kind of an imagination. But the movement itself, as you cross crawl, mimics the baby's crawling and movements that program the brain. So we're going to do the right hemisphere first, okay? So cross crawl, nose straight, eyes back and forth. All the way down to the floor. Okay, now we're going to do the same for the left hemisphere, but instead of cross crawl, you're going to use puppet, same side, leg and arm on the same side as a puppet. Okay, again, nose straight and eyes like the paintbrush. Now, when you're complete with that, you put your hands out to the side, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, and just let your hands be drawn together, and you'll bring them together with your fingers interlaced like that. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to create the pathways. You don't push, just let it draw. And then bring the energy right down the midline of your body, saying to all the chakra centers, anchor it in the chakra centers, down to Mother Earth. And then cross crawl just to anchor it in. The brain balance is a really very important process as you're changing major, anything really, but certainly any major concepts that you're changing. Having something like the brain balance to put it into the brain is really important. And that's the one I use because it's easily taught. There's other ones, but that one's easily taught. So do you have any questions? And then we're going to take a short break. Any questions before we take a short break? Yes, Emma.
So the green family broke into little green groups.
The green family, green represents curiosity, which meant they could have any of the colors. So when they broke into groups, they broke into different hues, not green.
Okay, so if I get a strong hit for green and orange both, then I'm a green group that decide to explore orange within the green context.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, those who feel like, oh, I'm connected, oh, I feel drawn to several of them, more than likely your curiosity. Yeah, Deborah?
Just a quick question. What was the fifth world?
Okay, that we haven't covered yet because it's Earth. Oh, the fifth world, we put I mentioned the fifth dimension with putting the program into the fifth dimension. Is that what you're talking about, Deborah?
No, when we were coming back through the world.
The fifth world is just part of the journey. I have not ever spent time defining and learning and looking at those worlds because that, I only had so much time and energy. There are those who have absolutely defined things that probably they see what they are each individually or more specifically, go into great detail about hierarchies and stuff. I don't know how they relate to the galactic landscape, but they may. But the fifth world is just part of that extension that we moved through. Nothing that I know of majorly happened there other than what was already happening. Third world major, seventh world major. Seventh is where we made the plan for Earth.
Because when we came through, it was the fifth that it was really hard for me to get through.
Interesting. And that would be, so what I would think, but I would make a note of that for sure, Deborah, because it may mean that there is a collective that you are a part of that still living a sacred contract they made that hasn't been resolved. That's what I would think would be more than likely, but it's something to ask about, so make a note of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I find personally when I do brain balance work is that the more difficult it is for me to do the movements, the more that's telling me I really need to do them more. It's like, like kinesiology is, how is this true for you? If it's not true for you, and that's probably something you need to look at. So for example, that particular one, I don't know if it's kind of had on my slide on slippers, I was having a hard time staying balanced, but I definitely am going to go back to that statement and do some more brain balance on it because I kept feeling bounced off. It's almost like a feedback from the body that says, you know, you're putting something in that might be contrary to what you already have. So you need to do it a little bit more often. Anyone
I
else?
was curious about the eye direction. Like when we're cross crawling, does it matter if the eyes go to one side or another, or
They go back and
mine would go to the knee?
yeah, that's another.
Okay, but no,
Yeah, in the educational kinesiology philosophy, if your eye keeps skipping, then you need to go back there. There's something in the neurological system that needs a little bit, it's the same thing. It needs a little bit more time to connect, is how they interpret the eye movement, either smooth or not smooth.
but so if cross crawl, if one knee comes up, I was looking that way to start and then sweeping across as the other knee came up, and then from that side. So do you know what I mean? Versus I could turn my eyes and look to the other side. Like I could lift right knee and start with my eyes and sweep across. Does it matter?
I've never
Maybe
heard
not.
it matters. What's most important is to keep a nose straight. Yeah, I haven't heard that it matters
Okay.
for the nose straight. There are some brain balance that use your eyes almost totally, but I don't do that one. But there are some like that too. Anything else before we take a break? Okay, so let's see. What about having is 5 minutes enough for all of you? So it'll be at 35 after the hour here, 35 after the hour, and we'll see you back, okay? That wasn't long. That was a time for maybe a breath and a step or two. So I hope that's good for you. So Emma and Avi, are you about ready?
Sharon, when you said, and so it is, at the end of it, the sun came through and shone in the window, right?
Good. Oh, good. That sun is so good for us. Okay, we'll wait for a minute with Emma and Avi. What we're going to do next, and you guys can maybe start thinking about it. So here you capture whatever it was from that sense of being in your divine family, the qualities, what you felt, just while we're waiting for Emma and Avi to just make a note of that in your journal. What was that like? What was it like to begin to know that energy field?
Sharon, can I ask you a quick question? It's personal, but I don't mind sharing. Like, with that experience, and it doesn't happen to me often, but most of the times that happened to me within my life is when you took us on some type of journey like that. Like after that journey, I felt this sense of like profound peace. Like it's so profound. It like I'm a high energy person naturally from peace, love, and joy, but it kind of like it makes me not even want to move and part like what is and it's so profound. Like what is that about?
You ask, are you of my light? And if it's of your light and it says yes, 3 times yes, then you say, you have a gift for me. Is there something you want to say to me? Or maybe it's just holding you. I can't tell you the answer, but you can get the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So just taking another minute to capture divine family qualities, energies, feelings, colors, sensations, smells, whatever showed up for you, just capture it in your journal. And then ask yourself, what would stop me from feeling this? And it might come up as words, or it might come up with a little statement. Who do you think you are? You're not enough. This is all BS. What comes up as a way to say, nope, nope, and write that down.
Can you repeat it?
Mm-hmm. So when you have a sense, so first is to say, what did that feel like, to begin to have a connection to home or to something energetically really far up there that's holding you. And then as you come down into the planet here in your body, what stops it? And you can just ask the question, what stops it? And see what comes up for you. It might be a thought or feeling, emotion. And when you have that statement, condense it down to maybe one word or 3 words. That condense it down, and when you've got the condensed version, raise your hand. Okay, good.
What is a condensed version?
That means take, like if it's a sentence, it might say, I don't think that would really fit for me. I mean, that's a long statement. So like,
Yeah, thank you.
Making it smaller.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to go through a process I call discreation. And this one is, I will just lead you. And I think I'll go slow enough that you can keep up. I don't think I'll go too fast. So just be with the directives, okay? So just close your eyes. Your body's holding you firmly. The purpose of this body is to give you this experience, give you any experience. So it is right there with you. It doesn't have to do anything except just hold your soul in place. And I want you to bring that condensed version to mind. Let yourself sense what it like, feels what it is. Let it be there, vibrating in front of you. Inwardly say the words so you know that that's the words of that experience. And now you're going to let your body be a balloon that is going to expand with the energy helium of that phrase. So the phrase might be, I'm not enough. It has a feeling, a movement, and you're going to breathe that energy in. So whatever your phrase is, breathe that in and let your body feel it. Breathe and spread it throughout all of your body. Don't worry, the body knows what to do. Just let it expand the body like you're blowing up yourself as a helium balloon full of that uncomfortable energy. Just breathe in until you feel it stretching you. And when you've had enough of the feeling, just it's still there in your body, but you've had enough of it, you don't want to expand it any bigger, just raise your hand. Yep, I've had enough. Good. Now, reverse your breath and breathe the energy out of your entire body. Whatever you need to do, breathe it out of your body and let it be in front of you. It will be its own form. It will still have the rhythm, the sensations, the emotions or feelings, but it will be in front of you. Breathe it out in front of you. When it's in front of you, just raise your hand. Yep, there it is now in front of me. Good, very good. Very good. Now, there it is. It's still doing its thing. You remember what that was like. So with your imagination, create in your mind a label and a marker in whatever way that shows up for you, and write on the label the words of that experience. So in my example, it would be, you're not enough. The words of that experience, write it on the label. And reach out and put the label on the form in front of you. Breathe and step back a little bit. You recognize, yes, I recognize you. I recognize the feeling, the emotions, the colors, the smells, however it shows up for you. And yes, those are the words it says to me. Yes, I recognize you. Now, the question you have to answer for yourself is, do you want to continue having that experience? Yes or no? And you get to choose. Now, if the answer is no, probably is, scan your physical body and your energies, the chakras, that energy system, and any cord that is running from you to the form, disconnect the cord from yourself. Whatever you have to do, you might have to unscrew it. You might have to bend the hook to make it pull out easier. You might have to have somebody help you. And that cord, as soon as it's disconnected from you, will go zoop, back into the form. Zoop. And tell me when all of the cords are gone from you. Raise your hand. And breathe and step back. Recognize that that experience you are complete with. So now I'm just going to have you clear the energy by just either snapping your fingers, clapping your hands, breathing, blow it away, blow it away. That energy will just simply dissolve back into light, back into light. It only formed because you held the seed. And now you're all muted. I want you to try on putting a sound into your space. It might be Om, it might be just a makeup song, it might be a real song, but for about 3 minutes, not 3 minutes, about 30 seconds, fill your space with your voice, with your sound, okay? And I'm going to mute myself, so I'm going to do the same thing. So just whatever comes up, put it in there. Okay, now take a deep breath and open your eyes. Breathe and just scan and see what is left. What are you left with? And make a note of what you're left with in your journal. And then we're going to go into small groups. There'll be 2 in each room. So 5 minutes, 2 minutes each. If whoever has a phone, bring up their timer for 2 minutes, and each of you in each of your room will time it. I think that's as easy and empowering as anything else. So I'm going to put you in your rooms. After 2 minutes, I will send a message out that says you have 1 minute left. So when the message goes out from Zoom, supposedly you both would have shared. You can tie up ends to complete between the 2 of you before you come back into the room. So the question is basically, what was that process like for you? What was the experience? What was the beginning place? What were you left with? Anything that you each want to share about your experience. And it will be basically 2 minutes each and a minute to kind of come to conclusion. Any questions before we go? Okay, here you go. Emma, why are you still there?